Oh boy, I'm so glad I bought this great new china. It's gonna go right along with all the other pieces of the set. Oh boy, I hope there isn't any bowls around here. Don't want to end up with a bowl in a china shop. Remember that old saying? Oh, I better be careful.
Quite, old chap. Or maybe we can go take it to my house and we'll have a delicious dinner with some brilliant tea, huh? Or what? Sound good? Hello everyone and welcome to the recent review. Today we're looking over set number 70793, Skull Basher. The set contains approximately 72 pieces, was released in summer of 2015, and at time of release was approximately $15. So alright, we got our Minotaur going on. Alright. Kind of. So, before we get into the review, let me get the disclaimer out of the way. Just because a pro, con, and or observation is here in this review does not necessarily mean that it is my opinion unless I explicitly say so. So please do not assume that it is my opinion or that I agree with it. I am merely bringing it up as it is an objective point of view and observation based either off of personal experience that I can recreate or from the community. Understood? Awesome. Great. Thank you. Now then, with that out of the way, let's review the box. It's a box, Skull Basher, Picari, or Mask of Earth. My goodness. Do you guys notice something's missing? That's right, no warning label. Apparently all these pieces are edible. Don't eat them, though. Functions, comic, yada yada. Let's get back to the set. So, we have Skull Basher, but we also have the new Mask of Earth. Now this one does look quite nice. A lot of people really do like how this looks because of the transparent purple, or translucent purple. Now it looks blue on the camera, but I can assure you it is definitely purple. And it looks really nice in person, almost kind of an amethyst theme going on. Amethyst? Now the gold I've mentioned prior, that it is probably the closest to the original gold, and we will test that out in a second. But, it does look nice. A lot of people really do like this recolor. Off to the side we go, let's get on to Skull Basher. Now, a good amount of people will tell you that the build is actually rather solid. If you like CCBS, the character and creature building system that Bionicle is now using, then you will like this set. It's very simple, easy to make. There's not a whole lot of complexity. One thing that is definitely noticeable is there's no gearbox. This set does not use a gearbox whatsoever, despite being a humanoid figure. Now this is incredibly interesting. This perturbed a lot of people. Instead, we have this contraption here. Now if any of you guys remember Hero Factory, I know, hang on, wait, hear me out here. If any of you guys remember Hero Factory, then you'll know that in that set, in that line, there was a set toward the end, the Brain Attack Wave, called Dragon Bolt, and it had a system on its back where you press down on a red button, not very unlike this, and the wings will flap up and down. Well, Basher has a similar contraption. This brings us to our first function. Spread his arms out nice and wide and push down on the red button. And you will notice that his arms should move. Now, this is really intriguing. A lot of people really like this function. You can go from one side to the other, or you can just do both. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. But the thing with this, it doesn't use any sort of rubber band to accomplish this motion. It uses, actually of all things, a tube from really early on in Technic days. That's kind of like a spring. It is incredibly creative, and a lot of people will agree that it is one of the set's prime points. Other things regarding the build is that he has some new armor pieces. He has these new gunmetal clip-on pieces, which look kind of like shredded armor or decaying armor or something like that. He's got the new axe pieces, which are almost springy in a way. They kind of spring like that. And some people may or may not like the open axles, although these are supposed to be hilts. And this you can connect things to this axle over here. This set does have open ball joints, which I understand many would not appreciate. As far as some other new parts, he actually does come with the rib cage piece right over here, and this time in transparent purple. And then finally the mask, which is a bull, almost kind of like a... You ever seen those old bull heads, like they've in the Sahara Desert, or not the Sahara, but like it's in the old Wild Wild West, and it's just the skull. This is that kind of look. Now that brings us to another function, the secondary function, and that would be the mask popping off feature. Now, it's really easy to do here, like really easy. Super simple. The horns are incredibly large, and a lot of people will not like them. In fact, a lot of people don't like them. Not only are they big and bulky, and some would say quite obnoxious, but they're a solid purple. They are not translucent purple like the rest of the set has. So they are very obnoxious to quite a few folks. Another thing regarding his color scheme, actually, the purple is not quite pronounced here. Now, a lot of people have noted this. It's more of an accent here than it is a primary color. His primary colors are actually silver gunmetal and, occasionally some orange and black. Now, granted, he does have a lot of prominent purple pieces. However, in comparison to some of the other Skull villains, they're actually quite muted on Skull Basher. Now, some other things. He's a symmetrical set. He's one of the few sets in the summer wave that is completely symmetric. There is no asymmetry to be found here. So, a lot of people may find that to be a plus. And honestly, I believe that sums it up. Overall, people do like him. He's one of a lot of people's favorites, actually. And he does do what he does very well. The last thing I can think of before I get on to the whole fighting aspect is that because there's no gearbox, and it's kind of a loose spring system, he wobbles. And he can occasionally be hard to pose with his arms. Because his arms, there's nothing to keep the arms really upward. So, poses like that, kind of difficult. But I digress. Let's go ahead and get on to the fighting review, or fighting part of the review. So obviously, Skull Basher has been advertised as fighting. Guess who? Onua. Now, as far as a matchup is concerned, they are both the bulkiest, or at least the widest characters of their respective side. Onua obviously being the widest and bulkiest of his team, and Skull Basher being the widest, I guess? As far as a shoulder-to-shoulder comparison is concerned, Onua still quite easily outclasses Skull Basher. Like, quite a bit. However, let's see how the functions work in combat. Now, unfortunately for me, Onua over here has a little bit of dust. And no matter which generation this is, dust just does not agree with Bionicle sets. So I have to really, really work hard to get Onua's gears to turn, because he's got all that extra friction. But we're going to try it anyway. So, boom! Miss. Boom! Not a hit, but, whatever. So, when you can get Onua to actually... Did I break something? I'm not sure. To actually hit something, he should hit that. And that does work. However, what about Skull Basher? Skull Basher has these two kind of axe things, and they're supposed to kind of hook around. So let's see if they will work. Get the arm. Come on, stay on there. Get. Obviously, this is going quite well. Okay, and wham! 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 Yeah. Wow, that actually really worked. So clearly the functions worked mostly as advertised. Now, for comparison's sake, this is the new Mask of Earth. Whoops. And this is the old one. Now, as you can see, the gold is actually quite similar. It's actually, I'd say, the closest to this gold. But, there you go. There's your comparison. And here's how it works on Onua. So there you go. Fairly simple, fairly straightforward. So everything seems to work out as it should. And there we have it on Skull Basher. So, overall, that has been my review of Skull Basher. Not a whole lot to say. He is a fairly straightforward set. He's got a very innovative back design, in regards to not having a gearbox, but still having an adequately working function. His color scheme is fairly straightforward. It's not exactly clashing, but it's not exactly standoutish either. So, that is Skull Basher. What do you guys think? Do you like him? Do you dislike him? Do you think he's a good matchup against Onua? Let me know either in the comments below or on the TTV message boards at board.ttvpodcast.com. And if you want to read a written, subjective review of mine, go ahead and click right there. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.